Where is Julian Brown? This is the #1 question I've been seeing online over the past several days, and people think foul play might be involved. This TikTok features several images of this inventor, Julian Brown, who found out how to turn plastic into fuel and has it posted in the past couple of weeks following a video where he stated he felt like he was in danger. Now, I've seen this guy's videos before, they're fascinating, and there are tons of people in the comments warning him that big oil and the government are going to try to take him down, perhaps even kill him because he's going to ruin their profits. And while this might seem like a logical theory, it actually really isn't. The process of turning plastic into fuel has actually been around for quite some time. It is common knowledge. It's known as pyrolysis. And while I'm not knocking Julian for creating his own way of getting this done, he's not the first to do it. On top of this, his mother fortunately stated that Julian is safe, but she doesn't have any other update besides that.
This is not funny, it's actually tragic.
When you first watch this video, your reaction might be to think that this is humorous. However, if this situation is what I think it is, it's definitely not funny. This video shows a man who clearly looks like he's in rough shape, and it appears as though he's role-playing like he's in an active battle zone. You can see him pretend to throw a grenade, he unholsters an imaginary weapon, and then goes and clears these corners. Now, a lot of people dismissed this as just a standard homeless person, potentially on some sort of substance, imagining things here. But based on the little details here and how easily this guy reenacts this situation, it has people speculating whether or not this guy was a combat veteran reenacting a situation that he had already been in. Everybody knows what PTSD is, and there are scenarios out there where combat veterans are unable to distinguish reality from things that have happened in the past. So they then think that they're in an actual war zone. And if that's the case, this seemingly innocent video is a lot darker. Your first impression when looking at this photo might be fear, but in my opinion, that would be misplaced. There's not very much context to this clip, but the first part here shows a cheetah chasing after some prey, this guy running faster than the cheetah, and then an image of the man that was supposedly running, Zarzor. Now, if it's your first time hearing the name Zarzor, don't worry, you're not alone. This is kind of a niche thing posted to TikTok. The lore here, which I'm going to add is completely fake, states that Zarzor is the fastest person in the world, and a lot of people also make him out to be evil, like he'll chase after people, capture them, and have his way with them. Admittedly, I'm not too sure why this ever became a thing. Perhaps some people were afraid of Zarzor, but he is an actual person. He did actually post TikToks, and he seemed like a pretty well-natured, gentle person. So again, I'm not too sure why people singled him out to be the butt end of this story. I'm fairly confident that even if you tried, you wouldn't be able to find this video, but take my word for it, you wouldn't want to watch it anyways. This clip shows an angry man by the name of Justin Moan holding up this object that is clearly blurred out, and that is for a very good reason. For context, Justin Moan is a 33-year-old man from Pennsylvania who back in 2024 ended up doing something very heinous. Justin fell down the super far-right rabbit hole, specifically concerning conspiracy theories, and therefore he has started to develop a very large disdain for government officials. As it turned out, Justin's dad had been a government employee for 20 years, so Justin decided to stage an insurrection and removed this portion of his body. He then went to YouTube where he displayed his father and uploaded a video that was there for a few hours and then eventually taken down. Justin was just recently sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. Hopefully he doesn't get out.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person.
If you've been on TikTok over the past couple of days, you've probably seen this clip. Everyone is talking about it. This clip gets straight into it. This woman was arrested at the airport. You can see that she's dancing in front of this officer, even going as far to start twerking, which obviously he's laughing at. Then we see the reason why she was arrested, this large wrapped up mass that was inside of her suitcase. As of now, we don't have the entire story here, but this incident happened at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. There's been a lot of speculation as to what was inside of the suitcase. A lot of people are saying hydro, referring to hydroponically grown plants. You guys know what I'm talking about, the stuff you smoke. But what's more interesting is because of how chill this woman is, people are thinking that she was meant to be caught here and act as a distraction so that larger mules could move through the airport undisturbed. And look, there have been lots of wacky ways people have tried to smuggle these types of things through the airport, so I wouldn't necessarily put it past them. You might not know what you're looking at here, but indirectly, you're looking at proof that you sometimes shouldn't trust large food manufacturers. This slideshow shows several different images of food production, specifically that of frozen pizza. We can see some pepperoni and cheese on the ground, we can see bins filled with different ingredients, and there's one thing in common for all of these photos. They look absolutely disgusting. And this slideshow is specifically referencing a tragedy that happened back in 2022 in France regarding this brand of pizza, Buitoni. At this time in early 2022, there were 2 children that passed away due to E. coli after consuming this pizza. Because of this, families of the victim, as well as other families involved in this, filed a $250 million lawsuit against the company. Upon doing an inspection, it appeared as though the food hygiene in the factory was not up to par. There were rats as well as other pests, and potentially E. coli in the flour.
This is what happens when you leave your paintbrush soaking in paint thinner overnight.
I'm gonna save you guys some time. If you're in a rush to get to the next video here, no, this is not true. It doesn't work. This is a video that's been posted to TikTok time and time again, every single time it goes viral, and people believe it. They state that if you leave a paintbrush in paint thinner overnight, all the bristles will meld together, it'll turn clear, almost like glass. Then get a bunch of TikTok videos trying to emulate the experiment, and even they're not being honest part of the time because they'll just fake it as well. Breaking it down here, thinners contain things like mineral spirits, acetone, or methanol, and paintbrushes are usually made out of nylon, polyester, or animal hair. The active ingredients inside of thinners do not turn these materials clear. In fact, they do the exact opposite. If you leave it in overnight, it's going to make it more cloudy and opaque. Thinners are used to break down oil-based paint, which is why it's used to restore paintbrushes, not ruin them and turn them to glass.
This streamer was hit by lightning.
Very curious indeed. I'm not too convinced about this man, I'm not gonna lie. This video was sent to me through Instagram DM, and it was presented as a legitimate news clip. It shows this streamer by the name of OskiPoop walking and reading chat, and then out of nowhere it looks as though he is struck by lightning, and the stream ends. There also appear to be clips of larger streamers reacting to this, which makes it seem like it did legitimately happen, but again, I am actually not too convinced. The primary reason why I'm a little skeptical here is because he's the one uploading these clips, making it look like other people are reacting to him, and also on top of that, I couldn't find a single news article talking about this, and this would be big news, despite the fact that he's a little bit of a smaller creator. Things that make it seem like it might be true though is the fact that he hasn't been live for 3 weeks, and the last video uploaded on his account was him being struck by lightning, which kind of seems a little odd. I don't know what these people are doing up here in the first place, but this is what pure death looks like. This TikTok that I got tagged in shows this group of people walking up the side of a mountain, and they look quite frantic. And it becomes clear about 20 seconds later why they're running away from their position. A large rock slide is coming down directly at them. Now, I wasn't able to find out exactly where this video was recorded, but I will tell you, these people are hiking up something known as a landslide gully, also sometimes referred to as a landslide chute. And this is one of the worst places that you could be on a mountain. What this signifies is that this is a very common spot for falling debris to make its way down the mountain. So pretty much anytime anything around this ends up falling, it's going down the chute. And if you're in the chute, you're going to get hit. If you get caught up in this flow, you might think you have a reasonable chance for survival, but no. This is not like an avalanche. The rocks and sediment are going to break your bones and grind you to bits. You're probably not surviving.
This is exactly what it looks like.
What I'm about to say might sound pretty harsh, but how stupid do you have to be to not only do this, but literally record this as evidence to get you in trouble? I know what you're thinking, and yes, this video is 100% real. It shows a person inside of a vehicle recording themselves accelerate towards these 2 people walking. The camera cuts off shortly before collision, but we then get to see the results here. The entire windshield is busted in. This incident happened back in 2018 involving this 17-year-old by the name of Nicholas Kyle Hoffman. This happened in Maryland, and Nicholas was given 25 years behind bars for this. The entire reason why he struck this guy in the first place, by the way, was because he allegedly stole some of Nicholas's green. And I'm sure there are some people out there that would think this is justified. Nobody is going to steal from me, but dude, this is so disproportionately bad. He threw his life away, the better half of his life, for a couple grams of a plant.
If you see this, don't be worried.
Hey, honestly, if you see something like this, I wouldn't be too concerned. You're going to be okay. This video that I got tagged in has the caption, "Guys, what is this in our hotel room?" We then see these small objects sticking up on one of these beams, and the caption also mentioned that this showed up overnight, and it looks pretty strange. Now, first off, don't worry, this isn't some sort of hidden camera or audio bugging device as many people thought. This is actually very likely to be the result of something known as a mud dauber, an insect. We've talked about mud daubers before, but just as a recap, when they're reproducing, they build these little cells individually, they'll stack them next to each other, and this is where they lay their eggs individually. On top of this, they'll go out, find spiders, and paralyze them. They will bring them back alive and seal them inside of each compartment, so when the eggs hatch, they have something to eat, and then they can grow. So if this is indeed a mud dauber nest, you can rest assured there's probably paralyzed spiders in there waiting to be eaten.
People are finding them below their trees.
I could totally see how this video would make a lot of people uncomfortable. When I first watched it, I was in the same boat. This video recently has been going viral on TikTok, and that's because it's very puzzling. It shows this tree that looks like it's old and dying, and we can see what looks to be a bunch of needles on the ground. The only problem here is that the pine needles on the ground appear to be alive. They are literally moving by themselves. Now don't worry, pine trees have not developed muscles. They don't have the ability to move like this. Instead, these on the ground are known as bagworms. There are many different types of bagworms. They can be found all over the world, but they all have one thing in common. They rest themselves inside of these homemade bags, made out of whatever material is available to them, usually from a tree. While bagworms are not directly harmful towards humans, a lot of people kill them on sight because they ruin their landscaping, they kill trees, etc. Those wondering the final life stage for a bagworm, here's an example right here. They turn into moths.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save 50.
Bro, I really don't know what the plan was here, but no joke, this has to be one of the most dangerous videos under this trend. This is yet another Jet2 holiday video that shows a guy going up to the front of a boat while they're traveling at high speed, trying to balance at the very tip of the boat and falling out over the front, again, while they're at high speed. Now, I will say I did cover a video similar to this about 3 weeks ago, but this is such a dangerous thing that I'm going to rehash it here. The first thing that you have to worry about is the propeller. Boat propellers are extremely dangerous. More often than not, if you get hit by one, you are going to be losing a limb, possibly losing your life, and this is what they'll do to a whale's skin. So you can only imagine a human. Even if the boat has a safe propeller system though, something known as an impeller or a jet propulsion system, you still run the risk of getting hit by the hull of the boat and getting knocked out and drowning. Fortunately, they did post an update for this guy and he was okay, and he is so lucky.
Someone left the hatch open. Can anyone explain to me why there's 2 pipes that go in, but there's 3 options?
I'm sure there's somebody out there that's already replied to this, but you know what? I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring as well. I'm gonna give you a breakdown. Pretty interesting video here that I got tagged in, shows this person standing at a gas pump. The panel here has been removed. He's asking a simple question. Why are there only 2 pipes here leading into the pump if there are 3 options for gas that you can put into your vehicle? So first off, you've got to understand gas stations usually only have 2 to 3 fuel holding tanks that are going to be supplying fuel to all of the pumps. This is in the interest of saving space and time. So what they've done here is actually pretty clever. For standard fuel, there's going to be one higher end tank of 93 and one lower end tank of 87. And if anybody needs something in the middle here, there's going to be an automated system that will mix the 2 of them to get to that level. And again, this saves a ton of money and time. You don't have to have trucks transporting different levels of fuel, and you also don't have to fill up as many tanks at the station.
I didn't ask for this, so
It's absolutely horrible what happened to this young woman, and honestly, the dogs involved with this definitely deserved what they got. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows a woman by the name of Jacqueline Durand during an interview talking about how she didn't ask for this. And the second image in this video shows her not long before this interview that she had. For context, Jacqueline was a college student back in December of 2021 at the University of Texas in Dallas. Jacqueline was a dog walker just to make some extra money, and after going over to a client's house and opening the door, she got pinned down by these 2 dogs, a German Shepherd mix and a Pit Bull mix, who pinned her down and bit her over 800 times, tearing up her face. She also reportedly lost around 30% of her blood, and she is very, very lucky to be alive. Of course, the dogs were put down because they were a danger to society, and Jacqueline does appear to be doing better. She's also active on Instagram at Jacqueline Durand if you guys want to follow.
We got water.
I cannot stress this enough. This is something that you should never do. It's extremely deadly. This video shows a guy at the beach doing something we all loved to do as children, digging a massive hole, getting in it. Partway through the video, this guy finds himself stuck up to his chest, and the worst part, he's unable to get out and his head is not above ground level. Now look, I know we all have that almost irresistible urge to dig as deep as we can in the sand, but there are limits to how deep you should go. That's because sand is extremely unstable, it's not a solid structure, so if you dig too deep, you run the risk of a cave-in. It almost seems like every single year there's some small kid not privy to this knowledge, they dig a hole, they get buried, and then they pass away. It happens a lot more often than it should. If a cave-in had occurred in this situation, this guy would have been absolutely cooked. He for sure would have died. There's no way he would have survived.
If this is in the water, don't jump in.
Money!
There's no way of knowing with 100% certainty what this person caught on camera. With that being said though, there are two guesses that I have. This TikTok video that I got tagged in was supposedly filmed in Naples, Florida. It shows this person recording the ocean, and this large creature can be seen breaching the waves and then vanishing from sight. Getting right into it, for those that didn't know, Florida does actually have its own species of crocodile. They're known as the American crocodile, and sometimes they do hang out in brackish water, aka seawater. That being said, when these crocodiles swim, they're not usually breaching the water and going back down, they're usually wriggling through it, kind of like a snake. Based on the movement here, it looks like it could be some sort of shark that sustained a dorsal fin injury, making it appear more jagged than it otherwise would. Though I will say, even these injuries don't look too similar. Whatever it is though, it is large, so again, I wouldn't be swimming in this water. This incident sounds like it was taken straight from Final Destination, but it was 100% real and people were there when it happened. This slideshow first starts off by showing an image of a young woman by the name of Deborah Gale Stone, then an image of a Disney attraction by the name of America Sings, and finally the outline of a woman's body on a wall. This incident happened nearly 51 years ago in 1974, shortly after this attraction opened up, America Sings, at Disneyland. The attraction featured a rotating stage. Every single time one of the songs finished, it would turn and a new scene would be presented to the viewers. Deborah decided to take a job as the hostess for this attraction, and partway through one of the shows, she found herself trapped between one of the moving walls and a stationary one. She either fell or was sitting in this area, so when the stage turned, she got crushed. She did scream. The audience members thought it was part of the show, until later they checked on her and they found her deceased. Fortunately, after watching this, you're only going to have more questions than answers, so just warning you guys now. This is another creepy TikTok that I got tagged in with the caption, POV, your husband leaves this disturbing voicemail after mysteriously disappearing. We then get an image of a man by the name of Henry McCabe, an image of an older iPhone, and then closing out with a more somber image. The case started on September 7th of 2015 involving Henry McCabe, who lived in Minnesota. On this fateful night, he had been out allegedly at the nightclub, after which an acquaintance dropped him off at a gas station to allow him to get home on his own. At around 1 or 2 a.m., he ended up pocket dialing his wife and left a very strange voicemail where you couldn't really make out anything that was being said. He then completely vanished for 2 months until kayakers eventually found him later while they were out paddling. There were no signs of trauma, it was just his remains, and still the case is unsolved.
Maybe that's a f***ing roach.
I want to say that this is a little bit of an overreaction, but you know what? This would be a jump scare. This video that I got tagged in was supposedly recorded in a secluded Airbnb in El Salvador, and these people took notice of this massive roach. And it's pretty hard to tell the exact scale of this roach, but it's clear this is a behemoth. Believe it or not, El Salvador does have the exact same type of cockroach that most of my audience has experienced here in the United States, the American cockroach. Now, most of you that have experienced cockroaches have probably seen the smaller ones, but American cockroaches can get quite large, 2 to 3 inches in size. And while that's pretty large, there are larger species, like the giant cave roach, for example. Another thing people were confused about is the fact that this cockroach is flying, and yeah, they do have the ability to fly, although this is something they don't do very often. Usually they only do this if they're getting too hot and they're trying to seek out a cooler environment, which totally tracks seeing as they're in El Salvador.
He got stuck in the costume.
I know this might not be a very big deal at the end of the day, but this would still give a ton of people panic attacks if it happened to them. This video kind of just randomly surfaced on my feed, but it caught my attention because it shows a guy attempting to take off this mascot costume and being completely unable to do so. Essentially, he's trapped inside of the costume. Now, this information is going to have little to no benefit on most people watching this video, but this is actually possible, and there are varying degrees of severity to this. The primary problem that you'd run into that could cause something like this is if your zipper malfunctions, ends up trapping a portion of the fabric from the costume inside of it, and it doesn't allow it to open. In other cases, though, people will try to wedge themselves incorrectly into a costume or into a costume that's too small. In this case, this Barney head, this person had to be helped by the fire department because they were that stuck. I guess the moral of the story here is to make sure that you put your costume on correctly so it doesn't get stuck.
This giant bird was freaking them out.
Alright guys, I'm sorry, but we cannot be serious right now. This has to be a joke. This is an absolutely ridiculous TikTok video that I got tagged in that was reportedly recorded in Peru. It claims that a huge bird was discovered and it stunned the tourists. This has to be a joke. So there were a bunch of people in the comments stating that this was 100% real. It's something known as an Andean condor. And I do want to make it clear, Andean condors are 100% real. They do live in Peru, and they are one of the largest birds. Their wingspan goes up to 12 feet, and they weigh between 20 to 33 pounds. They're also 4 feet tall. But here's the deal. Look at the feet right here. And look at this Andean condor's feet. Unless this Andean condor here has cankles, it's not an actual bird. In fact, I already know that it's not a bird because I found the exact costume that was being worn here. Look at the feet. That's the dead giveaway.
This is not funny. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm not going to be showing the ending to this video, but yes, what you think is about to happen is exactly what happened. This is another one of those videos on TikTok that I got tagged in that I was not too happy to watch. It shows this person messing around with a fish. The fish is biting him because it's scared, and as a response, the guy removes the fish's mouth. The fish that was featured in this video is known as a needlefish. These are commonly consumed. So more than likely, this fish did not go to waste, but there are certain ways that are more ethical than others to neutralize a fish so that you can prepare to eat it. And I really wanted to give this person the benefit of the doubt, assuming that they didn't know better. But when I went to their page, I realized this is an account that I've talked about before, and apparently this is something they enjoyed doing, making sea life suffer before they eat it. And I know there's going to be people stating that this is just nature, but look, we've got frontal lobes for a reason, we know better, and we can reduce suffering if possible.
Don't pick up random shells at the beach.
Usually when you're out in the ocean, you don't really want to pick up random sea life, but in this case, this guy is going to be okay. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows this person walking up to what looks to be a rock at first. Once they flip it over though, we can see that it is clearly a shell, and the creature inside even has these very unique looking eyes. So what we're looking at here is known as a conch. These are a type of marine snail, and they are quite plentiful in the ocean. There are also many different species. And specifically, just based off the shell shape here, I believe that we're looking at a spider conch, but again, it's kind of hard to tell because there is a lot of sediment in the original video. Generally speaking, conchs themselves are safe to pick up. However, if there's an animal inside, it's not recommended to do so. And you especially do not want to confuse a conch with a cone snail. These are super deadly. And this is one of the reasons why I always tell people not to pick up random shells in the ocean. Just leave them be.
This job is way harder than it looks.
I'll admit, this is a topic that I'm not the most knowledgeable about, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but I think I can explain this well enough. There's not much context to this video. These people can be seen inside of a large concrete structure. The caption says, "Quit looking, I found it." Then we can see what appears to be a pipe that has burst and it's spraying water everywhere. First and foremost, these guys are more than likely inside of a coal-fired power plant. You have your furnace where the coal is burning, you have water pipes that run through that, the water gets heated, and this is what spins the turbine, providing power. It would appear as though one of these pipes has burst, which is why this guy was called in, because according to this guy's TikTok, he is a boilermaker. This is a trade, it is not easy work, and these guys often have to climb into pretty tight spaces to fix boilers and pipes that are intended to carry super hot material, like boiling water. The caption here, "Quit looking, I found it," is of course a joke because it's very obvious what they have to fix here, this broken pipe. Like most of these disgusting restaurant videos that we cover, I am pretty sure this place is still open, so that's really surprising. This is another TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in, starting off by showing this store, Chop Chop. We then get images of the inside, very unsanitary conditions with workers cleaning it, and rotting food galore. For context, this biohazard case took place back in 2022 in Canterbury. Chop Chop was a Chinese restaurant, and unlike most restaurants that we talk about here where they get shut down because of their financial situation, that's not what happened here. There were actually 5 illegal immigrants working at this place. As a result of this sting operation and bust, it was immediately shut down, which left a bunch of the food rotting on the inside. The smell was reportedly so bad that people walking by outside were straight up puking in the streets, and the business that cleaned it described the inside being a sea of maggots. I'm honestly surprised there aren't more people talking about this recent case coming out of Alabama, especially on TikTok. This TikTok that I got tagged in has several different images. The caption says, POV, you saw what happened in Alabama 3 days ago, and now you're traumatized. We can see this small hut, a very dilapidated looking bedroom, and then mugshots of 3 individuals. So recently, near Brett, Alabama, 7 people were arrested in connection to crimes against children. These 7 people held at least 10 individuals ranging from 3 to 15 years old in this makeshift bunker, where they would charge clients to go down and have their way with those 3 to 15-year-olds. I can't go into great detail as to exactly what happened inside of the building, but I can tell you shock collars were used to keep people in line. They were also given certain substances that would make them more drowsy and therefore more compliant. It is extremely deplorable stuff.
They are trying to free their frozen ship.
I hate to be the actually guy Santa, but actually you're incorrect. This is a video that was sent to me through Facebook DM. In it, we can see what appear to be 3 large ships stranded on ice. We can see that they've dug out a tunnel here, the propeller is present, and you might think that they're trying to free the ship from the ice. Well, to put it bluntly, no, that's not actually what they're trying to do. They are doing this on purpose, stranding these boats. Really, the only time in a ship's life it's going to be out of the water is when it's first built. Once it's in the water, it's not very easy to bring it back out. So, in order to service the bottom of the boat, they bring it to these frozen bodies of water. That way they're able to access the hull of the boat on the bottom, and they're able to do any repairs that they need to do, all without having to scuba dive or, again, bringing the ship out of the water, which would be a pain in the butt. When you think about it, this is honestly genius and an example of humans using their environment to their advantage, even if it's blisteringly cold.
What the Earth's core looks like.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want to burst your bubble, but that's not the core of the Earth. This is a viral TikTok video that I got tagged in. It doesn't have a whole lot of context, but it shows this guy grabbing a brick from the ground, picking it up, and then revealing this burning mass on the inside that looks like molten lava. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised when I checked the comment section on this video because people literally thought they were looking at the actual core of the Earth. And that could not be further from the truth. The core of the Earth is thousands of miles below the surface of the Earth. We haven't even come close to getting down there, even with our best technology. So I can promise you that's not what we're looking at. In reality, this is probably a kiln. Kilns are used to heat certain objects. You can do things like pottery, you can melt metal. It really has a variety of different uses, but these do go underground and they are not very deep. It also would explain why there's an actual opening here for this guy to put stuff in and pull stuff out. Look at us, covering 2 creepy videos in one day. This one, in my opinion though, is the creepiest out of the 2. This is a TikTok video that's gone viral numerous times over the past several years. It shows this young boy in the arms of a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. The young boy then leaves. This guy walks up to the Chuck E. Cheese animatronic and it looks over at him like it's alive. Now, I don't know about you guys, but these Chuck E. Cheese animatronics have always freaked me out, regardless of my age. And the one that you guys are seeing here was part of the Chuck E. Cheese band. Now, despite the fact that these animatronics are kind of unsightly and a little bit creepy, do not worry, they're not alive. This is not Five Nights at Freddy's. This is what these animatronics look like underneath all of their fur and exterior clothing. They do not have brains. These eyes are just programmed to move, and that was all coincidental. Either that, or maybe I'm being paid by Chuck E. Cheese to lie to you guys.
Do not mess with red still water.
Money!
I've talked about still water more times than I can count, which is at least 5, because that's how many fingers I have on each hand. And every single time, my take's going to be the same. It's not something you mess around with. Today's monthly still water video is a little bit more interesting though. This person's inside of an abandoned bunker. They're walking through this water that looks pretty normal for still water standards. But then they come across this very weird dark red still water, which had a lot of people speculating and freaking out. As we all know, still water, standing water, it's not the safest. It allows microorganisms to grow. It's not something that you want to be around, consume, or swim in. Red still water is really no different. There are a couple different things that could be causing this. This bacteria, Serratia marcescens, that can actually be found in your bathroom, by the way. This can definitely make you sick, or iron oxide from corroding pipes, which is what I personally believe is causing that coloration.
She didn't see the face behind her.
You guys know I usually don't cover creepy videos like this, but just this once, let me have this one. This is a video I've put off talking about for quite some time. I've seen a bunch of different reposts. It shows this woman talking, and in the background, this terrifying face that disappears behind her, and I'm not going to lie, when you first watch this, you do have that pit in your stomach, like something bad is going to happen. However, people are making up a bunch of stories here, the biggest one being that this woman was live streaming and she had no idea the face was behind her. And that's why I'm stepping in here. There's a lot of misinformation. The creator that uploaded this video is Dua Lupe, and just one simple look at her account and you can tell that this is something she does often. Now at first, I thought that this was a mask, but in reality, it's actually somebody wearing makeup, as well as these zombie white contact lenses to make the appearance more striking. So in essence, this is all just for fun. It's all an act. You don't have to worry. This woman is not possessed or being haunted by some sort of demon.
Hey, Apple.
What?
Yeah, this is definitely not a normal topic that I'd usually cover, but you know what? This one's weird, so I'm doing it. This Hey Apple slideshow that I got tagged in starts off by showing a respawn symbol from Roblox saying hey 2-time, a Roblox character named 2-time saying what, and finally a person with a drawing of that Roblox spawn symbol on their hand. This is going to be really hard to explain in a minute, but basically Roblox has this new cult that's been going around known as the Spawnism cult. This is based off of a game known as Forsaken in Roblox, and the ideology here is that if you die, you will respawn, essentially like you are being reborn. There are some people out there who are ironically joining this cult, but then there are other people, adults for example, that are trying to convince kids that this is actually something that's real and trying to get them to do horrible things to themselves because they'll respawn. Essentially, it's a very weird and perverted version of reincarnation. I figure we might as well talk about this, seeing as this is a very current event. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows a person walking on the beach, but there's one major problem. The ocean is nowhere to be seen, and a lot of people were freaking out because there were major tsunami warnings for California and pretty much the entire western seaboard. If you guys weren't aware, very recently, within the last 24 hours, off the coast of eastern Russia, there was a very large magnitude 8.8 earthquake that hit. This earthquake caused a great deal of concern because usually tsunamis follow earthquakes. In Russia, there were waves of up to 13 feet, so issued to the United States western coast was a tsunami warning. Waves caused from the earthquake have since been coming in, however they are not very large, most of them are only a few feet tall, and a lot of the warnings here have been kind of taken down a notch. They're not being taken as seriously. If you first look at these images, you can see that there's something a little bit off, but it's kind of hard to tell what it is. This TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in features several images of just standard objects. The first one is a level, the second one shows some pylons, and the third image shows some outcroppings on the side of a building. But there's one thing all of these images have in common. None of these objects have shadows. And this fascinating phenomenon can be documented in a variety of tropical areas. It's known as a Lahaina noon or a zero shadow day. Obviously, as you guys probably guessed, this is caused by the sun being directly overhead, so there's no shadow being cast in any direction. The shadow just goes straight down. As a result, the objects look completely fake, almost like it's a bad render in a video game. This is a semi-annual event, meaning it happens just twice a year, and if you're anywhere between the Tropic of Capricorn and Cancer, you will experience this. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, odds are you thought to yourself, wow, this thing is massive. Well, in reality, it's nothing compared to the largest canyon in our solar system. This is an astronomy slideshow that I got tagged in, featuring 4 different images showing the largest canyon in our solar system on Mars. All of the photos here tell us that it is massive, but until you see the Grand Canyon compared to it, you really don't have any scale. The canyon that we're referring to is located on Mars, and it's known as Mariner Valleys. As you guys can see, this is roughly 2,500 miles long, about the same size as the US. On top of this, it is multiple miles deep, over 20,000 feet for perspective, and 125 miles wide. This means that if you were on one end of it, you're probably not going to see the other wall. Even crazier, it is 1/4 of the circumference of the planet. Oh, and Mars has the tallest mountain in the solar system. It really needs to be nerfed. I honestly can't believe I'm making a video talking about this, but here we are. This is a very questionable TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows this lawnmower, this tortoise on the front end, and without saying it, yes, this is exactly what it looks like, and those noises coming out of the tortoise indicate what you think it does. Tortoises, like many creatures on this earth, are very interesting and peculiar, and their behavior when it comes to mating is also that way. It's very common to see tortoises going after inanimate objects, kind of similar to how dogs do, and this can mean a variety of different things. First off, this is a way for male tortoises to show dominance. This can also be an expression of frustration, especially when you move a tortoise into a new enclosure. It's also pretty common to see tortoises ramming up against objects they're about to do this to, because that's also a portion of their normal mating ritual.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now,
I know what you're thinking. This video has to be the craziest Jet2 holiday video ever. Well, unfortunately, no. At this point, I'm getting very sick of the Jet2 holiday videos, but I'll react to this one. This one shows a hand seemingly reaching out of this water, and obviously we're led to believe that hand is connected to an arm that's presumably connected to a body. It might appear like that on the surface, no pun intended, but I am 99.9% sure we're just looking at a rubber glove that isn't fully waterlogged. Instead, there's probably a small air pocket on the top that allows it to just float standing up. This is further bolstered by the fact that you can see these underwater plants, but you can't see where an arm would be, so that really doesn't make too much sense. That being said, if you do ever encounter something like this in real life, the first thing you should be doing is calling 911, not filming a Jet2 holiday video. So another reason why I think this is fake.
Do not enter the dreaded storm drain.
Poisoned alcohol.
It's been quite a while since I've talked about a video like this, and my stance has remained the exact same. This is a bad idea. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this guy partaking in a fun activity. He sits himself down into this tube, there's this flow of water leading directly into a storm drain, but the joy quickly fades in the second half of the video when he realizes he's lost. He probably isn't though. For context, storm drains are there to take rainwater and groundwater and direct them away from urban areas, that way flooding does not take place. And because storm drains usually have a decent flow and current, people will take tubes down here and ride it like an underground water park. Now the major issues here, not all storm drains are just a linear straight path. You could potentially get lost. Second, depending on where you are, there might be people living in the storm drains. They're probably not going to take kindly to intruders. And third, if there's too much water or you fall out of your tube, you might drown.
Aliens already exist here on Earth.
Whenever the topic of aliens comes up in a conversation, I always tell people you don't have to go to a distant planet to find alien-looking life. You can just go to the ocean. This is a video I'll admit I've seen reposted at least 100 times over the past few years. It shows this guy bending down to pick up this weird-looking creature, and I'll tell you what, your brain really just struggles to make out what you're looking at here. So this alien-like creature is known as a basket starfish, and it's pretty easy to see why it's called that. It has all of these appendages that make it look like a basket. And this is for a very good reason. Evolutionarily, the basket starfish realized that the more appendages it has, the more food it's going to be able to catch. So it reaches these arms out here, there's specialized mucus that captures its prey, and then it slowly moves its arms inwards towards the mouth and just feeds itself. Overall, despite the look of the basket starfish, it is not harmful towards humans at all, it's just kind of creepy. I think we can all agree if you were to find something like this in your mother's freezer, you would think about her in a very different way. There's not a lot of context to this TikTok video that I got tagged in, but it shows this guy looking into a freezer in a very apprehensive way, and then it shows this bag that obscures what's inside of it. This is an incident that took place back in 2019 involving this man by the name of Adam Smith, whose mother was passing away from cancer, so he went to go take care of her. After she passed away, he started sorting through her things and consolidating them as one usually does, and things were normal until he got to the fridge. That is where he found a baby completely intact inside of a pink fleece that was mummified and had been there for 37 years. His mother had mentioned that she'd had a baby that she'd lost, however, she wouldn't really reveal much more information other than that, and foul play was ruled out, so it looked like she just stored this baby. This is one of those cases where no matter how hard you try to think of the correct answer, you will never know with 100% certainty. This is another creepy TikTok that I got tagged in that starts off by showing this smiling man and the caption, POV, it's 1980, your friend says he's leaving to live with aliens, and that same night, he disappears forever. The man in question was a mechanical genius from the town of Duncan, Canada, by the name of Granger Taylor. Granger was a big fabricator as well as a fan of aliens, seeing as he built his own life-size scale replica of a flying saucer, and on the stormy night of November 29th of 1980, Granger Taylor vanished without a trace, leaving behind this note stating that he was going to live with aliens and he was going to be back. To this day, nobody knows exactly what happened to Granger, but I will say he did do LSD pretty frequently, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Never stand in front of a tire inflation cage.
Alright guys, please don't be mad at me. I know you probably wanted to see the entire clip here, but if I were to post it, the video would probably get taken down. Now that we got that out of the way, this video shows a mechanic looking at a tire. You can see he has a spray bottle in his hand, and right when the video cuts off, within an instant, we can see a bunch of air rush out and hit him directly in the torso. Now, it might not look like it, but what this guy just experienced is extremely dangerous. This is known as a truck tire blowout. When you inflate a truck tire, the amount of pressure that's inside of it is insanely high. And if the seal or the tire itself has some sort of issue, it has the potential to let that air escape. The results can be explosive literally, and this kind of thing has killed mechanics in the past. And that's one of the primary reasons why they use these tire inflation cages, so if one of these tires blow up, the people are not going to be getting hit with shrapnel. You might think that painting a live turtle shell is something cute that you can just do for fun, but in reality, it's definitely not. This slideshow has two images. The first image shows a turtle with a bunch of paint on its shell, and the second image shows the exact same thing. However, you'll notice a large gaping hole in the center of the turtle's shell. Now, this is something we have talked about in the past. However, recently I've been seeing an uptick in posts of people thinking that this is something cute to do. In fact, there are websites out there that actually sell turtles with this paint already on them. Now, the main issue when you do this is you risk creating deformities on the turtle's shell. This can last for an extremely long time as well. And it also prevents the turtle's shell from absorbing vitamins, which can cause it to stay the same in the exact spot that you painted, and the rest of the shell grows around it. So even when this paint is marketed as safe, it still is not. They are just blatantly lying. This is yet another perfect example as to why I will never hop on these rides, no matter how safe they are. This is a video that all of you guys have probably seen. It shows this amusement park ride located in Saudi Arabia, snapping in half and falling to the ground with dozens of people riding it. And I've got to be honest with you guys, I feel like this is happening far too often. I made a video about 2 months ago talking about a similar situation happening in India. These rides specifically are known as pendulum rides, and they're pretty self-explanatory. People strap in, they swing up and down, sometimes a full 360, and you should be safe in doing so. However, there appear to be a string of cases happening where this central column keeps splitting under the immense weight of the ride. As of now, everybody here survived. However, 3 people ended up in critical condition, and I do believe I saw somebody ended up losing their legs, probably the person hit by the other side of this column.
What happened to this spider web?
Money!
I've got to give you guys a lot of credits, because lately you've been tagging me in videos where I'm not 100% sure what the answers are. This video shows a guy outside of his house about to enter, and he sees this very strange spider's web that almost looks like slime or gel, and he states this is something that he's never seen before. Now, in doing my research for this video, I did find one term that I believe describes this, and that is supercontraction of a spider's web. Basically, what I think we're looking at is a funnel weaver web. These guys are found in grass, bushes, as well as the sides of people's houses. And when you factor in water, something known as supercontraction takes place, where the web gets smaller, wider, and thicker. On a normal spider's web, it looks something like this. You can see that all of these pieces of silk are much thicker than usual. But when it comes to a funnel spider's web, where it's much more dense, then it becomes more like a slime.
This will stop your car and your pulse.
All right, before we start this video, don't worry too much. There was nobody in this vehicle. This was just a test scenario. Now that we got that out of the way, this video shows a large truck barreling towards this pretty small barrier. But instead of blowing through it, as you might expect, the barrier tears straight through the truck. And if there was somebody inside, it wouldn't only stop the truck, it would also stop their pulse as well. Now, this is a topic that we've covered briefly a very long time ago, back when I used to do the point up content. Now that we're going to do a little bit more of a breakdown though, this is known as a heeled raptor barrier. These do exactly what they sound like. They're used to prevent unauthorized vehicles from entering places that they shouldn't enter. And it doesn't really matter the caliber of vehicle, these are anchored down into the ground extremely deep. They are made out of reinforced steel. It really doesn't matter what you throw at it, it's not going to make it through. This was a 7-ton truck, didn't even put a...
Doing this is actually very easy.
You guys might not believe me, but doing this effect right here is actually way easier than you might think. This simple TikTok video that I got tagged in shows a child playing around with this water coming out of the faucet, and everything appears to be normal besides the fact that the water looks like it's not moving. It doesn't even look real, to be quite honest. Now, I did see a lot of people in the comments stating that this is an example of laminar flow, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's actually not the case. Laminar flow is when water looks like it's not moving at all and it's just staying in one stream. This is not one stream, this is clearly droplets of water coming out. This is actually known as a stroboscopic effect. The most famous example of this is in this art installation in China, where light flashes at the same time that water is falling, making it appear as though the water droplets are always in the same place. This is also seen with these glitch in the matrix helicopter videos, and even with the propellers on planes.
Do not swim near the Goliath grouper.
Yes, I'll admit it, I've talked about this before, but what am I supposed to do, guys? I've been tagged in this at least 100 times today. This is a video that I've seen reposted many times. It shows this diver throwing a thumbs down sign. We can see this massive fish right here. The fish then lunges to his midsection within an instant, and he punches it away in fear. The fish that you guys saw in this video is known as a Goliath grouper. These are massive fish weighing up to 800 pounds, growing up to 8 feet in length, dwarfing the divers that they swim with, and they're commonly referred to as bullies because they're so large they don't really need to care what they're doing, they'll just take stuff from you if they so feel like it. In all honesty though, groupers are not that dangerous towards humans. They don't have a very strong bite force, they eat by suction, but even so, their sheer size can make them formidable, and if you get on their bad side, you could get injured. For those wondering, this is exactly why people are discouraged from wearing metal around an MRI machine. The clip that you guys just watched is a short introduction as to what happens when metal is brought near an MRI machine. This metal chair is violently pulled in, and this guy tries to retrieve the chair, and he's not strong enough, and this is not a small guy. Many of you guys probably already know what an MRI machine is. Maybe you've seen it in a TV show, perhaps you've been in one before, but for the basics, MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging. The outside of an MRI might look pretty boring. The inside contains a bunch of superconducting magnets that create an extremely strong magnetic field. These fields are so strong that they can pull hospital beds inside, and recently there was an extremely tragic case of a man who walked into a room with an MRI machine wearing a 20-pound weighted chain, getting pulled into the MRI and losing his life.
Why am I here? What is the meaning of life? Since I've been in the class, I've learned the answers to all of those.
Lesson number 1, guys. Never join a cult, because things tend to get crazy. This video without context shows a man sitting and asking a very complex question, what is the meaning of life, why am I here, and then stating that he learned the answers to these questions by partaking in this class, aka this cult. Now, the cult that this man was a member of is a very well-known one nowadays by the name of Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was founded back in the mid-1970s by this guy, Marshall Applewhite. Their belief was simple: reject human nature, and eventually you're going to end up as an immortal extraterrestrial being aboard a spaceship. They believed the human body was a vessel they would eventually leave, and that date took place in 1997 when the Hale-Bopp comet was passing overhead. They took this as a sign their spaceship was approaching. Members recorded exit videos. Then, in a coordinated effort, all 39 members left their human shells to join the If you're someone like me who's only ever owned iPhones, besides my Razr back when I was 14 years old, you've probably never seen this logo before pop up on your screen. Now, this is a TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in showing different dangerous Android errors. The first one, an error has occurred updating the device software. The second, a no command error. And the third one that also looks the cutest, just a penguin sitting on this screen. For context, the penguin that you guys are looking at on that phone screen is known as Tux. This is the official mascot for the Linux operating system as well as the Linux kernel. And seeing this on your Android, especially when you're trying to boot up, is not usually a good sign. This means that you're having some sort of problem, indicating your system files are possibly corrupted or you have a pretty serious hardware issue. Either way, this is not that common for Android users. It does happen though, and usually it's pretty difficult to diagnose, which is why you don't want to see this on your screen.
These people will have very bad karma.
Footage that you guys just watched is sadly 100% real, and if karma is a real thing, these two certainly have it coming. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on in this video at first, but in it we can see a man and a woman carrying something, and when they place it down, we can see an arm that's moving, and we realize this is a human that is alive. This is a very disturbing and tragic incident that just recently happened on the night of July 23rd through the 24th in Ayodhya, India, located in Uttar Pradesh. What this clip shows is allegedly this man and his wife carrying his 80-year-old mother with cancer and abandoning her here just on the side of the road. Next morning, passerbys would discover the 80-year-old woman unconscious by the name of Bhagwati. They brought her to the hospital, but unfortunately she did not survive. Apparently, this is a trend that's been happening a little bit more often than it should, elders being abandoned in India.
What are these ships dumping in the ocean?
Boy, is this alcohol?
I want to preface this by saying I'm not 100% sure what's being tossed in here, so, make up your own mind based off the information I give you, I suppose. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows these military members. This guy can be seen carrying a bunch of these bags, and they promptly get tossed overboard right into the ocean. Of course, most of the people that watched this video left with a bad taste in their mouth, and they were quite upset, especially considering there have been other scenarios where US Navy ships have dumped trash into the ocean. The best case scenario here is that the bag is made out of something like burlap as opposed to plastic. And after reaching out to one of my buddies that was in the Navy, he stated more than likely this is food waste or potentially burned documents. And again, best case scenario, this is the case. Food waste does break down in the ocean, and it's certainly a lot less damaging and harmful than dumping plastic.
You won't believe it, but yesterday an SOS signal came from the legendary Titanic. But how is that possible? If
this video is only correct one time throughout the entire duration of it, and it was right at the beginning when they said, you won't believe this, because yeah, I don't. I wasn't planning on making a video reacting to this, but since this has gotten so much publicity, I'm doing so. This video states that the Titanic, which sank 100 years ago, has recently been sending out SOS signals that boats traveling over top of the wreck have been picking up. This is a ludicrous claim. As we all know, the Titanic sank back in 1912. It's been residing on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean ever since. The only time in history SOS signals were received was slightly before the ship sank. It has not happened since. On top of this, the electronics here would be completely fried, and what's more, they used radio telegraphs. This is older technology, so it's unlikely a modern ship would be able to even receive these transmissions.
Beware of the cellar spider fungus.
It would appear that this video is making its rounds again, and holy cow, it never gets any less uncomfortable to watch. This is a video that went viral back in 2023. It just resurfaced again because people are freaking out about it. It shows a spider covered in white fungus with the reference here, he is already a head crab. Unfortunately, it's not an actual head crab, that's just a creature from Half-Life, but this is still 100% legit, and for spiders, this is a nightmare come true. More than likely, what's taken hold of this spider is a fungal pathogen by the name of Engiodontium aranera. The fungi can live in damp environments, like in your basement, for example, and therefore it will oftentimes infect cellar spiders and leave behind this very creepy looking corpse. By the time the spider starts really showing signs of that fungal infection, it is already far too late. It is going to have a 100% fatality rate.
This was right before the crash.
I'm not joking. If I were inside of this aircraft and the pilot was doing this, I would tell him to go to the nearest runway, drop me off. I don't want to be a part of this. The clip that you guys just watched shows this plane doing a bunch of stunts over this body of water, and not too long after this video was taken, the plane ended up crashing in the water. For context, this was an incident that very recently happened in Majorca. The man that was flying this was a 60-year-old retired American combat pilot. He was currently a commercial pilot, and he decided to take his 13-year-old son up in this F4 Raptor that's capable of reaching top speeds of 250 miles per hour. It appears, though, that the pilot bit off a little bit more than he could chew with these stunts. He lost control of the plane and crashed, and while him and his son were not initially found, they were just confirmed dead about a day ago as of the point that I'm recording this video. It just goes to show you, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how many hours you have flying, bad things can still.
You do not want to swim in this.
I can imagine after getting out of the water, you were probably a little bit concerned, but honestly, there's nothing here to really worry about. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this person who just got out of the water after taking a swim. They turn on the underwater lights on the boat, and they find out exactly where they were swimming contains hundreds of jellyfish. Now, most of the time, jellyfish would be concerning. However, just based off the fact that you swam in that water and didn't feel them stinging you, my guess is that you probably swam with moon jellyfish, which for the most part are harmless. Instead of other types of jellyfish that have very long, stringy tentacles that are full of nematocysts, the moon jellies instead have these really small tentacles that are just under the bell, which makes it pretty difficult to get stung by them. And if you do manage to get stung by them, your reaction should be pretty minor. It might leave a small red rash, but that'll be gone within a few hours, so not that big of a deal. Yeah, I know this might look terrifying, but trust me, this thing is way more scared of you than you are of it. This is a relatively old TikTok video that I got tagged in, so I'm pretty surprised people are still seeing this, but in this video, this person's picking up something that looks like it's straight out of an alien sci-fi movie. The creature is clearly uncomfortable, and a lot of people were making references stating that this looked like a face hugger from Alien. In reality, though, we're not looking at some weird form of extraterrestrial life, we're actually just looking at a horseshoe crab. You might be thinking to yourself, these guys look really weird, but in reality, we're the ones that look weird compared to it because these are the oldest living creatures on this earth, having been around for over 400 million years. Yeah, we're like babies compared to them. Humans do also use horseshoe crabs. It's not for consumption, it's for their blood, which sells for around $15,000 per quart.
Humans are honestly so genius.
Welcome back to another video where the information I'm going to give you is not going to help you whatsoever, but hey, at least it's interesting. This video shows another example of amazing human engineering. In normal speed, it looks like it's just a bunch of tomatoes being dumped down a conveyor belt, but when the video is slowed down considerably, we can see that the tomatoes here are being sorted. The green ones are being tossed off to the side, and the red ones are coming down. If there's one thing for sure, industrialization and consumerism means more products are moving through these factories. So the engineers have to come up with creative ways of making things faster. For example, the more disturbing machines like the crab killer that we talked about a couple of months ago. This is the more PG version where tomatoes are sorted using optical sensors and AI that tell what color the tomatoes are, and that relays directly to these little arms that flick them out. These machines are obviously quite expensive. Here's an example, the Sentinel 2.
This is not a solution to the problem.
Well, there's one thing that I could tell you guys right now. I'm very happy that I'm not this cow. This is a no context video that was sent to me through Facebook DM. In it, we can see a cow, this person with their hands placed on this very weird lump on the side of the cow, and then the person starts pressing in, and it looks like it has the same consistency as a pillow. A lot of people in the comments on this video initially thought that they were looking at a tumor, but more than likely what they're actually looking at is a bovine hernia, or just a hernia on a cow. For those that don't know, a hernia occurs when the muscles that make up your abdominal wall weaken and break open. Your intestines will then go out through that muscular opening and manifest themselves as a growth in your skin. So the bulge that we're seeing on these cows are the intestines. Technically, you can push the intestines back in. This is known as reduction, but this is definitely not a permanent solution. You're going to have to get this surgically taken care of.
Oh my god, there's a ghost. There's a ghost. Do you guys see that?
I know that this was more than likely filmed as a joke, and you're probably coughing on purpose, but part of me thinks that this was completely unintentional. This is a viral video on TikTok that I got tagged in. It shows this person in their room. We can see smoke just floating overhead. He states that it's a ghost, and while this might seem funny, this is indicative of a larger problem going on in this person's room. Specifically, when there's a lack of ventilation, not having any windows for outdoor air to come in, or vents at the very least, this causes what should be fresh air to turn into stale air, and this allows pollutants to linger around longer, scents can stay in the room for a long period of time, and it could cause respiratory issues with certain people. One of the easiest ways to see if you have a problem with this is to light some incense. If it just floats in the air and looks like it is completely sitting still, you should probably open up a window. Either that, or you're having some sort of blockage in your vents that's preventing the air from circulating.
Do you guys see this like line in my pool? There's nothing there. It's like not a piece of hair.
As much as I want to agree with the person that filmed this video and say that this is some sort of unexplainable glitch in the matrix, it's very easily explainable. It's kind of hard to see what we're looking at in this video, but this person's drawing attention to what looks to be a very straight line in this pool of water. The person then points out that this is not a piece of hair. They move the water around, disturb it, and even after disturbing the water, that line still ends up showing up. So what could be causing this? Turns out the explanation for this is a lot more simple than one might think. We're simply looking at the currents coming from one of these pool jets. Jets in these pools are usually organized in the optimal way that allow them to circulate the water here, which means multiple currents will be meeting each other, and the line that you see in these pools is where that current is meeting each other and overlapping. This is done on purpose to make sure that any of the chemicals that you dump in here to sterilize the pool get around the entirety of the pool, keeping it as clean as possible.